My name is John Rahm. I am 28 years old. I'm from Newcastle, Delaware. My sobriety date is April 3rd, 2008. That puts me just over 3 years. I got to Healing Properties. I got sober. I was in a treatment center for a month, and then got to Healing Properties right after that. Spent just under a year here. Before, it was long and miserable. I shot heroin, lots of it. Anything I could get into a needle, I did. I started doing it right out of high school with a girl. She was doing it, so I decided to do it. And over the next 8 years, that was my life. My mom initially cut me off early. She believed in tough love, and after I initially, put her through a lot of hell, by means of stealing from her, lying to her, completely just tearing her life apart, which was brief. She only put up with it for so long. She said, she gave me an option, go to detox, you gotta get yourself better. After she saw that wasn't working, and then I kept doing it over and over again, she said, you're either gonna kill yourself here or kill yourself out there, and I'm not gonna watch my son die. So she, told me I had to go, and I was on my own. I loved what I was doing. I didn't know how to stop, doing drugs. And it took me a long time to finally get up that, that desperation, just that depression was so great that, for a long time I seriously thought I had already died and that I was living in some kind of purgatory. I wasn't by any means in an afterlife, but I knew I wasn't. I was that insane that I thought I was in a purgatory, and I was just stuck. I couldn't stop, and I was homeless for a long time. And when I say homeless, I don't mean like couch surfing. Like I literally slept underneath a 95 in Wilmington, and I knew the best trash cans that had the best cardboard at night, and the best place to go at night to throw away their best food. And that was my life, and I accepted that was my life. I accepted that was what, the only thing I was going to be. My family accepted it. They wrote me off. My brother actually wrote, a mini novel about, killing me and disposing of my body, so that I wouldn't have to put my mom through any more hell. And that was just my life. I accepted it. I didn't know how to stop, and I tried going to treatment before early on. And I got out, and I tried staying sober on my own, and it didn't work. In the midst of all that, in 03, 04, I had a little girl, and that was right after I went to my first treatment center, and I thought, parenthood, would keep me sober. I was convinced, that this was my answer, this was my solution to being a dad. And I probably made it about 3 months of her life before I couldn't, and then I was doing the whole, I'm going to take, my daughter to the park or the mall, or I want to push her around in the stroller, be Father of the Year, and I would take her and use whatever excuse I could to get my mom's vehicle or to get out of the house with my daughter to go and, get my drugs. And I didn't care. I was, I thought I was heartless. I thought I didn't have a conscience because I had no remorse for anything I did. I was very deep in my addiction, and I didn't care. I didn't care about my life, let alone anybody else's. So needless to say, my daughter did not keep me sober, and I tried, as the years went on, but it just never worked. Until I eventually went to, Father Martin's. I actually got in. A buddy of mine got me in there. He knew Father Mark. He said, this kid really needs a shot, can you get him in? So I got to go to Father Martin's, and then from there, it was unbelievable. It was the first, it was a very nice treatment center, and me coming off a, however long homeless, spree, pulling up to this place, it was just like, oh my God, it's a country club. I'm not going to fit in here, who are these people, and I came in with like a torn sweater and hair down to my, shoulders, weighing $125, and I was just emaciated, and it was great. I loved it, and I felt like I was given an opportunity to really do something with my life, and from there they recommended Healing Properties, so that's when I got down here.
That's good.
Yeah, so when I was in Father Martin's, the cool part about this, I just want to throw this in here, when I was in Father Martin's, it came close to my discharge, and I went to the discharge coordinator and they asked me what I wanted to do, and I was like, well, I hear all these kids talking about going to these halfway houses, and I'd really like to, yeah. Everybody in the treatment center was talking about going down to a halfway house down in South Florida. So I was like, I'd love to do that. However, I didn't have any kind of money fund, so he worked it out with my family that they put up the money, which was very, very surprising. But just, one more thing that I looked at is like, I get another opportunity now. And all the kids were going to this one halfway house that was not Healing Properties. And when he told me, I'm going to be sending you to Healing Properties, I remember getting very upset. I'm like, but I don't want to go to Healing Properties. I want to go to this one where all my friends are going. And he's like, I know, but I think you do better at this one. So he sent me down to Healing Properties. I was upset at first, and I quickly realized that I was being a little girl, and I still got the opportunity to come down here, which is a really awesome opportunity. I was down here for about 2 weeks. I tried staying in contact with the guys from my treatment center, and it took about 2 weeks before there was none of them left. They all more or less had relapsed, gotten high. They weren't here for the right reasons. Or they weren't here for the same reason I was. Let's say that. And they fell off one by one. And if I were with them, being in the state of mind that I was in when I got here, who knows where I'd be. So for whatever reason, more likely.
You would be dead.
So for whatever reason, I got sent here, and looking back now, it was truly a blessing in disguise, and it turned out to work out in my favor.
And we met each other.
I know. So, but yeah, so I get down here, and from the moment I was picked up at the airport, with the old property manager, I remember his voice sounded a lot deeper on the phone, and like he just sounded a lot older. And when he picked me up at the airport, it was just this younger, not younger, but 30, and he had like a backwards Dave Matthews Band hat on. Yeah. And he was like, welcome, I noticed you got a skateboard, cool, And I was like, all right, I was nervous, I was full of fear, and I get in this car, and I'm asking him, what, HP's like, and he was telling me, and I was like, man, one day I want to do what you do, and he was like, take it easy, new guy, you got a lot to learn, and he started asking me if I ever, did step work and this and that, so we get to the property, and it was just awesome, from the moment I got here, I felt like I was finally a part of something, like I said, coming from my past, being alone, isolated, my addiction, I came here and there was, 36 or so other guys that we're all doing the same thing I was doing. We're all, more or less just like me in the sense that, they didn't know how to stay sober and they ended up in this halfway house, and we're all doing this thing together. I had relationships, I had friends, I had people that genuinely cared about me, that, didn't know me from Adam, just they wanted to see me get better like they were trying to do. And I felt like I said, I felt connected. I felt like I was a part of something, and I hadn't felt that way in a long time. I couldn't stay sober before, so when I got down here, like I said, all these things started happening, with getting to go to a nice treatment center, getting an opportunity to come down to South Florida, so at this point I'm like really like pumped about, I have this new opportunity, this new life to make a change. So I started, really thinking about what I didn't do before. And that was step work and meetings and sponsorship, So, the property manager, Brian, said, I highly suggest you getting a sponsor, and go to meetings, not to mention that is a requirement here. And so I remember as soon as I got here, the first thing I did was went to a meeting and tried to find a sponsor. And the guy I initially picked, I didn't know nothing what working with a sponsor was supposed to look like. However, I called him a couple days in a row, and he blew me off a couple days in a row, so I was pretty sure that's not what it was supposed to look like. No. And Brian gave me this list of of people to call, you know, because I'm new, I don't know anybody, you know, I'm scared to death, and all I know is getting a sponsor is going to save my life. So he gives me this list, and me and my roommate, we were both new, and you know, I remember the guy on the top of the list, we were just going by people's names, what names sounded cool. And I remember we were arguing over both wanting this guy, actually it wasn't you. And we were getting in an argument over this, like I wanted him, no, I want to pick him, no, I was like, you know what, screw it, you call this guy, I'm going to call this guy. The guy I actually called was Mike.
I was the 2-pick? I was the 2-pick. I'm just learning this.
Well, you know, so I called Mike and you know, and he asked me, you know, 2 questions. You know, one was, you know, am I willing to go to any lengths to achieve and maintain my sobriety? And the other one was, do I have a big book? You know, and that's all, you know, that's all we needed. You know, from there on out, you know, I didn't know how to stay sober, so I relied on Mike. You know, we got into the step work, and he kind of more or less pointed me in the right direction and showed me, you know, what to do and how to live, and suggested certain things, you know, stay away from women, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, he took me through the steps. And as a direct result of that, I stayed sober. You know, and it's 3 years later and I'm still sober. But something, you know, aside from the step work, something that I feel was just, you know, extremely beneficial to me at Healing Properties was, like I said, when I came in here, I didn't know how to live. I didn't know how to live as a man, you know, somebody that was my age. I just didn't know how to do anything, and you know, not only did I learn how to, you know, achieve and maintain sobriety at Healing Properties, but I learned how to, you know, be a man and live, and learn how to be in society, and I learned, whether I learned or I just obtained, the desire to want to live in general. You know, for so long I wanted to die, and you know, when I got here, you know, I finally had that overwhelming desire to want to succeed and just want to live.
Some hope.
And yeah, and every day I woke up just feeling so unbelievably grateful that I had this opportunity. And to this day, I wake up and the first thing I do is just kind of like, you know, recognize that I'm not, you know, underneath the bridge and, you know, withdrawn from drugs.